Welcome to Menopause from a Man with your host, Joe Hoye, where my goal is to educate, empower, and equip you with the tools that you need in order to make the second half of your life the best half of your life. If you enjoy this show, make sure you subscribe to catch all future episodes, and please share it with a friend that you think will enjoy it as well. Now on to the show. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Menopause from a Man. Today is another amazing guest episode, and we have Sarah Poldmae. She is a doctor of acupuncture and Chinese medicine, functional medicine, and a registered yoga teacher. Lots of good things that all will help you massively if you choose to go in that direction. Okay, with over 20 years of experience, Dr. Sarah has dedicated her career to a holistic approach to wellness, seamlessly integrating the ancient wisdom of Chinese medicine with modern medical practices and mind-body techniques. Her passion for mind-body medicine shines through her practice, where she emphasizes the profound connection between mental and physical health. And if you have not spent enough time with us yet, you are about to learn that those two things are massively connected, and I am so glad that Dr. Sarah understands that. Okay, Dr. Sarah also has a special focus on women's healthcare, offering tailored treatments that support the unique needs of women at all stages of life. In addition to her clinical practice, Dr. Sarah is an enthusiastic advocate for wellness retreats, where she combines her expertise in acupuncture, functional medicine, and yoga to create transformative experiences. Her retreats are designed to nurture the mind, body, and spirit, providing participants with tools to achieve lasting health and well-being. This is going to be a jam-packed episode with lots of good wisdom, gold nuggets, and a little bit of fun. So spend time with us from start to finish, and let's dive in. Sarah, welcome to Menopause from a Man. It's nice to see your face again and talk to you. How are you?
Absolutely. I'm doing amazing. How are you?
I am doing well. I've had a crazy morning, but it's always good to get on a podcast, bring that positive energy, and just have a fun conversation. So let's do exactly that. In your intro, it was a pretty lengthy intro because you do a lot of cool stuff, which is really cool. The first thing I'm interested in, selfishly, is acupuncture.
Sure.
What got you into that?
Absolutely. So actually, it's kind of a long story because I got into acupuncture when I was a teenager. I was suffering from some really severe migraines, which were hormonally related. But I was ending up in the emergency room a couple times a month, getting shots of Dilaudid, which is basically a very similar drug to heroin, shots in my butt to relieve the pain. And the last thing you want to do is wait in an emergency room for 8 hours for relief. It's loud, it's bright lights, everything that any migraine sufferer that's ever been through this know is like the worst thing in the world. So I ended up going to see an acupuncturist. My mother was a teacher, and one of the parents of a child in her class, a student in her class, one of the parents was an acupuncturist. And it was pretty like out there back then to go to acupuncturist, but changed my life. Absolutely. So fast forward through a couple of different career ideas while I was an undergrad, I fell in love with a movie about acupuncture and said, you know what, it really changed my life. Let me go for it. So that's what I did for post-grad.
Very cool. So you almost just got pushed in that direction from your own experiences, from liking the movie, and you're like, you know what? If it changed my life, I'm going to help others with it too.
Yeah.
That's great. And so it helped you with your migraines, but what else can it help people with?
Oh gosh, with so many things. So I focus largely on women's health in my personal practice. I have other acupuncturists that work with me as a team to address other things, but I deal a lot with women in midlife, helping with anything from PMS and perimenopausal complaints to digestive disorders, insomnia, stress-related complaints, although almost everything is related to stress. So acupuncture can really help with the gamut. I always say there is a place for acupuncture in any particular disease that you're struggling with, whether it is the thing that you use as the primary treatment for a disease, or if it's potentially to be used to help mitigate the side effects of some of the primary treatments. So for cancer, for instance, I don't treat cancer, but I can make someone going through cancer treatments a heck of a lot more comfortable. So it's really just where in the scheme of things with whatever you're suffering with can acupuncture play a part.
Wow. And so I've heard of it helping with digestive issues. I mean, maybe I won't speak for everyone, but for me, that's one of the more common things that I know it can help with. How can it help with symptoms of perimenopause and menopause, easing those? How can it help with women in midlife in general?
Yeah, well, everything, we are not just our body, we're also our brain. And that mind-body connection is so important for gut health and digestive disorders, like you mentioned, but it's also so important for women going through menopause, perimenopause. Let's take hot flashes, for instance. One of the most effective drugs on the market for hot flashes, and it's new, is a drug that works in a very similar way as acupuncture. It actually works in tricking the brain to not send signals back and forth with the body to have hot flashes. It works with the nervous system, and it's a super effective medication, but a lot of women want medication-free management of their symptoms. So that's one particular example that stands out. Acupuncture is just great for regulating a woman's cycle if they're still cycling. Again, stress hormones and reproductive hormones they don't exist separately. They exist in a woman's body, and we can't pull them apart as much as Western medicine would like to say that we can. We can, but that might not be the best first course of treatment. So in our practice, we do take an integrative approach, blending acupuncture, functional medicine, Chinese herbal medicine, and our nurse practitioner will even do bioidentical hormone therapy if we need that. In some women, it's a viable choice. But I think that what sets us apart in the practice, which I love both as a patient and as a professional, is being able to take a truly holistic look at things, because Eastern medicine, functional medicine, and Western medicine all have their strengths, and it will depend on the person and what they're suffering with.
Yeah, I love that you don't go straight to HRT from my understanding. You're like, you know what, let's see what we can do naturally first. And then if we still need to, we'll absolutely do it, because there is a place for it. Absolutely. And I'll never question that. I also like that you talk about the mind-body connection just so frequently and so early on in this. I think that every single thing goes back to our mind and our mentality. And I know that you dive into that a lot. So where do we start there? Because there's a lot to unpack.
Yeah, I'm actually developing a little program surrounding that. So I'll certainly let you know when that comes to fruition. But just taking the hormone replacement therapy as an example, it's a viable option. It is a solution that women should definitely have in their toolbox. But I think we go back and forth. First, hormone therapy was evil and caused all sorts of cancers. And now everybody's saying it's totally safe. Well, every single thing that you put in your body has positives and negatives. And so for that example, the reason that we don't rush into just handing out hormone replacement therapy as candy is we really want women to slow down, take a deep breath, and evaluate their lives at this point, because this is the time where mindfulness, meditation, that mind-body connection becomes super important, because sometimes it's not about cutting your calories, it's about giving your body what it needs. And if we don't slow down and use our intuition and use mindfulness and the mind-body connection to really figure out what is our body trying to tell us, we're doing it a disservice. So if we pull out the big guns like pharmaceuticals immediately, we've missed a step. In the end, you may choose to take estrogen, progesterone, and or testosterone, and that's valid. But if you have so many mixed signals coming in, so many of my patients come in and they say, I just don't feel like myself anymore. You can certainly pop some pills and maybe feel better, but have you learned any along the way? Yeah. And not even just a Band-Aid, but if you're still, drinking as much alcohol as you used to because you're feeling okay with it, alcohol is not good for us. As much as I would love to say, go out and have your cocktails, there's no responsible healthcare practitioner out there saying that women can have 10 or 12 drinks a week. And to me, that's the average of what I see clinically. And that's not even considered a heavy drinker in our society. There's no way that our liver can process the reproductive hormones the way it needs to when they're going wacky in perimenopause and also process alcohol. So I think by slowing down and saying, what does our body really want and need? What do we want our lives to look like? What does success look like? Because success isn't just about getting rid of symptomology. Success is about thriving. It's about living your best life. It's not about just being comfortable until we die. I mean, that just sounds depressing.
That doesn't sound fun at all.
Right? I mean, it's about, I think about like women, we focus a lot, and I know you talk about lifting heavy weights. Why is that important? So that we can brag that we lift heavy weights? No, it's important so that we can take our groceries in when we're 70. It's important so that we can go from sitting in a chair to standing without having to use our arms. I mean, there's so many things about exercise for women, especially, that's so important. And if we just always skip the steps of learning and listening and just grabbing at the quick fixes, I just think we're too old for that nonsense now in midlife.
You would think so. And so a couple things you said, you're like, sometimes it's not about cutting calories. I would say it's rarely about cutting calories because most women, I would say, listening to this show have already been cutting calories and it hasn't worked. So we're going to need to try something new. If you spent any time at all with me, you're going to know that. That should not be a surprise. I'm just glad that Sarah is kind of on the same page. But the
Mhm.
other thing you said is that these listeners should be slowing down and considering meditation and certainly being mindful. But what I find is that that is extremely hard, especially for this population. I mean, they're moms, they're housekeepers, they're full-time workers, they're people that have hobbies and friends and family. And when you add all that into the mix, the last thing, the hardest thing to do is actually slow down and be mindful and meditate. So if that's true, where do we start? Like, how can somebody start this if they're just so busy?
Well, and that's exactly the problem is in a lot of different cultures that don't have this fast-paced, you have to play 17 different roles as a midlife woman type of society, like in Japan. I mean, depending on what culture you live in, it is very indicative of what symptoms you may experience during midlife. And that's telling. So how do we slow down? I'll bring in Chinese medicine for a minute because one of the big things that stress does is that it affects your energy levels. And in Chinese medicine, we call that liver qi. Liver qi is kind of your stress. When you are stressed, your liver doesn't like it. And so what it does is it attacks the spleen. The spleen is involved with digestion primarily. It's kind of our gut in Chinese medicine. So there's some loose overlaps with functional medicine here. And the problem is that chronic stress, both in Western medicine or in Chinese medicine, liver qi attacking the spleen, it's our energy. Chronic stress makes us tired. And I'm sure that you have a lot of women in midlife that you speak with, that you work with, that are just exhausted all the time. But what we do is we pump ourselves up with that quick fix of sugar. Not that sugar's evil, but it's usually like a muffin or, some kind of refined carbohydrate.
Added sugar, right?
Yeah, exactly. Go, 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 because that's what society is telling us to. But what if we just gave ourselves permission to not go, 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 go? What if we build in a nap if we feel like we need a nap at 2 o'clock in the afternoon? What if we take away one of the household duties that we've chosen, even though it's expected of us, we've chosen to go along with that expectation? So I guess where we start is there can be a lot of different ways, but smoothing the liver qi in Chinese medicine is one of the ways that we can do that. We have an ancient Chinese formula called Free and Easy Wanderer. That's such a beautiful name, a
I
beautiful
like that.
translation. Like, wouldn't everybody want to be a free and easy wanderer? Like, la, 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 la. I used to follow the Grateful Dead, and that was like everybody's goal.
Yes,
It was just to
perfect.
wander around this country free and easy. And the idea is that it just takes the edge off. So if you can find ways to take the edge off, one of the physical ways would be to take that Chinese herbal formula. It's one of the most popular formulas in Chinese medicine for women. So that could be a good place to start. You could also start by meditating twice a day, just for 5 or 7 minutes. I studied at Harvard under Herbert Benson. He's an MD that studied what he called the relaxation response. And it only takes a few minutes to get into the relaxation response. So when I tell my patients I want them to meditate, a look of like glazed over look comes into their eyes, like, I don't have time for that. Well, you have 5 or 7 minutes twice a day.
Right.
And technically if you get good at it, it might not even take you that long. So doing something like meditating or breathing exercises, anything that creates the relaxation response, basically sends a signal to your body to recover from stress. So it's not about removing stressors from your life. It's about recovering from them. It's about training your body to know that that stressful state will come and you know what to do to get over it. So that's a big part of it too, is just training yourself so that you completely complete the stress circuit. Because what happens is we usually go from one stress to the other without resolving it. Sort of like being in a relationship and fighting over the same thing again and again and not resolving it, right? Like that keeps you in a constant state of stress versus if you have a really big fight, figure it out and come up with some kind of solution for both people in the relationship, friends, friends, works, lovers, doesn't matter. If you come up with a resolution each time it happens and move on from it, you've actually moved on. So the same thing with your body and brain with stress. So I would say you can take a Chinese herbal formula to start it. You can start learning to meditate. You can do breathing exercises. There's so much out there, and some of it requires more effort than others. Like popping a Chinese herbal formula is probably the least effort out there. But it's not that hard to learn how to breathe deeply too.
No, it's not. And you mentioned word for word, what are other ways to take the edge off? And living in this society, the ways that I can think of that most people do but aren't serving them would be alcohol. Can I get a buzz? Can I get drunk? Can I numb myself from that? Maybe it would be social media. Can I just scroll on my phone and look at other people's lives and what's going on instead of paying attention to mine? And like, yeah, you take the edge off, but it's not helpful.
It's not relaxing either. Social media may
No.
feel like a big dopamine hit at the time, and that's exactly what it is. But when you stop scrolling and move on to the next thing, I don't think you feel better moving on to the next thing. Feel like, oh God, I feel so great. I got 10 minutes of TikTok in, and now I feel like I can conquer the world. Like, I'm not sure that that's how most people feel.
I always feel worse. I just feel like I wasted my time. Like I never get anything out of it. Whereas when I meditate, I open my eyes back up and I feel a million times better. I'm curious, do you ever talk about different states of brainwaves like alpha, beta, theta, and so on?
Yeah, I mean, I have recommended, I'm not an expert in that per se, but I have meditations that I've used personally that target those different brainwaves, and I have recommended those meditations to other patients and to friends.
I found they're super helpful. One thing I'm doing personally right now is on the Mind Valley app, I'm doing something called segment intending. Have you heard of that?
No, but I would love to.
So it's really cool. It helps you to activate your RAS, your reticular activating system.
Hmm.
And really, it's just going through your day in the morning. So every morning when I wake up, I shut my eyes, it's just laying in bed or sitting outside. It's like I go through my day of how I would want it to look. And I'll say to myself, wouldn't it be nice if when I did XYZ, it came out in the best possible scenario? So it's like this morning I made my coffee and I took the dogs for a walk.
Hmm.
Sometimes both of those make me crazy. I'll spill my coffee grounds and the dogs pull the entire time. And so I get back home and I'm more stressed than I was before. And so instead I was like, wouldn't it be nice if I made the perfect coffee, pulled the perfect espresso shot, sat outside and enjoyed that. And then I took the dogs for a walk and I really just got to listen to the birds and watch them have fun and sniff things. And when I got back, because I did that, I felt a million times better. And so like that's a really easy meditative thing for me because I'm paying attention to what I actually want out of my day.
Yeah. I'm going to start my mornings. Wouldn't it be nice if one of my chickens did not escape when I was giving them water in the morning?
Good luck. Tell me how that goes.
It's fine. It'll probably go fine.
I
But
love
yeah,
it.
I think those types of tools, it really, I try and meet my patients where they're at. Some of my patients walk in and they already have a meditation practice or have a mindset practice. And I definitely start my day off with what I want to create. I try and intentionally go through my day, and things will pull you back and forth. But if you have some intentions that you set, at least you know where you're going once you come back from whatever derailed you. So yeah, you can take a Chinese herbal formula. You can use one of the tools that we've discussed. You can have a glass of wine, but again, that actually ends up disrupting your nervous system rather than soothing it. And then you don't sleep well, and we could have a whole episode on that. But there are also things like self-care, like getting a
Mhm.
massage. Can't usually do that every day. So that can be a part of it, but it's not going to get you all the way. Acupuncture definitely reduces stress hormones. It's been shown clinically to reduce stress hormones in your blood. So there's just so many things that you can do. It's just a question of picking and starting to be consistent. And if you feel like you struggle with consistency, finding someone that can hold your hands through it is huge.
I was just going to say that because so many people don't know where to start, but
Yeah.
there's people that exist like you or me, and we do know where to start. So finding somebody that has those answers is the quickest way to your success. I don't care who
Yeah.
you find, just make sure you find someone, you put your trust in them and you listen to them. And actually I wanted to go down the route because I know your big thing, like when we talk about this, you just light up. You have a retreat coming up next year. And I want to know more just out of curiosity, but I would assume that anybody that goes to that retreat is just 100% immersed in everything that's going to make them a better person for a certain period of time. And so it's
Yeah.
probably damn near impossible to not not achieve a certain level of success in that. Can you tell me more?
Sure. I mean, I fell in love with going on retreat travel for a couple of reasons. My husband and I travel really well together, but we like to do different things.
Mhm.
So I love wellness. I love yoga. I love mindset work. I love relaxation exercises, but I also love adventure. And I found that retreats are a great way to do a couple of things. And for me in midlife, it really serves me because not only can I do things like restorative yoga, meditation, more active forms of yoga to make sure that I'm getting my exercise in every day. So it serves me from that perspective of just the mindset, relaxation, kind of resetting your nervous system. But also in midlife, sometimes we can feel a little flat because we have been serving everybody else except ourselves.
Yes.
So our bodies are changing. We're not super happy with that. So we're trying to, deal with the, what do you call it? The spare tire around your middle. Maybe we're having hot flashes, not sleeping well, whatever we're going through physically. But emotionally, it's a time where it can be a little frustrating because we've lost our sense of self. And it's amazing to go on a trip with people that all have a common goal of like chilling the F out, really figuring out what relaxation responses look like for them and how to get there. So you get these tools that you can bring back from your vacation, but you also get to discover a new sense of adventure. So a couple years ago, I took my daughter to Panama to Sansara Resort, which is where I'll be holding my first international retreat in March. Super stoked about it. Magical, magical place. And we were at this place and we got to do so many things that my daughter had never done before. So I've surfed in my lifetime and I'm
Nice.
terrible at it. And I will go any chance I get. I am never going to be on the world tour. Kelly Slater is never going to be like, "Oh my God, Sarah, you're amazing. You have this natural gift." I suck at surfing, but I absolutely love it. I can say that about a lot of recreational activities, but a lot of the people there got to surf for the first time on these beautiful baby waves. And these are women that are, in their 50s that would never in a million years have taken a chance of trying to learn how to surf. They have an amazing surf program there. And just getting yourself into such a joyful beginner's mind is such a huge concept in Buddhism of just being like, it's okay. I have no idea what I'm doing. And it's like such fun. And when is the last time you've had that kind of fun? It's amazing.
Well, God, you're bringing up so many good points. And I'm just, as you're saying this, I'm literally imagining myself at a retreat and all the
Hmm.
amazing things that can happen. Because number one, for anyone that goes to a retreat, you're not just learning from the host of the retreat.
No.
Every single person that goes to a retreat is there for the same reason as you, to get better. Most
Yeah.
of these people have probably been to others, which means they already have tactics that they're using that you can learn from. So you can learn from the people that are there with you.
Yeah.
Like you just said, they're all trying something new together. It's
Absolutely.
one thing to try and surf alone in Panama with a bunch of locals that know how to surf. You're going to
Right.
feel like an idiot. You're going to be super self-conscious and you're going to suck because you're new
Yeah.
at it.
Yeah.
But if everybody sucks,
Hmm.
it's okay to suck and you're going to laugh at yourself and you're going to see other people's laughing at themselves. And like when you get up on the board, you're going to have a whole team cheering for you because they know how it felt to stand up because they just did it too.
Oh my God, it's
So
like you've been elected to be like the president of the United States. The feeling you get when you stand up for the first time is a
yep.
feeling I would give anything to have that feeling again. It's just so beautiful.
It's surfing is super rewarding and not to scare anybody away because I do want everyone to try it. It's hard. Like it's
Yeah.
hard work paddling over those waves just to catch the right one. But when you do stand up and you are being propelled forward on a board from a wave,
Hmm.
oh, it is the best feeling ever. And
And I
it's
have to say that it is difficult, but if you come on retreat with me in Panama, or if you do want to learn to surf, Panama, Costa Rica, those are the places because the waves are like baby, beautiful waves, and it makes it a lot easier. So you don't have to be super physically fit, which I love. But yeah, retreat travel is it just offers so much because it is like that collective. One of the things I feel women in midlife miss is, our friendships can start to fall apart because all of a sudden maybe you're not enjoying going out and having 5 or 6 cocktails, and a lot of your friends still are, or maybe you're just looking for more adventure. Everybody's there for the same thing, to have the most amazing time. And I remember my daughter, she was 17 when I took her. It was the first time she'd been around a group of people, a group of
mm,
adults, like 20, I think there were 22 of us. And she looked around and she said, "Mom, these adults are actually really cool." And I realized, wow, this is the first time she's been around a group of adults that didn't have context for her. So usually it's her coaches or
Yep.
family members or what have you. This was the first time it was a group of adults that were strangers to her parents as well. And she was like, these people are so cool. I'm like, well, not all adults are cool. Just retreat adults are cool.
You're like, hey, we're also just people, right, sweetheart?
Yeah.
Yeah. And the cool thing is, everyone that goes to a retreat is from a different place. And you're going to make friends with these people because you have so many similarities and you exchange numbers. And now you don't just have one place you get to travel to.
Yeah.
You can go to all your new friends' places all around the country or
Yep.
just stay in touch with them. And
Mhm.
like, my God, I think you have just got me to sign up for some form of retreat.
Yeah.
Maybe I won't go to yours. I won't fit in, but I'm going to go to one retreat.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah, I think it's just such an amazing form of travel. It's one of my favorite ways to go because I went to Europe for a couple weeks last year and I can't wait to go back to Europe. But when I came home from Europe, I did not feel restored. I felt like I saw a lot of amazing things. I fell in love with a couple towns in Italy, but I was kind of tired when I came back. I have to say
Mm.
that when I leave a retreat, I feel like I have spent my energy in exactly the way it needed to be spent. So when I come home, I truly feel restored. And that's just a wonderful way to kind of jumpstart this journey if you're looking to start to navigate wellness in the ways that I've been talking about.
Well, I mean, this can be daunting, right? We've scratched the surface
Yeah.
of all the things that generally should be done if somebody wants to be successful. And if they're already feeling beat down and overwhelmed and tired from life, the last thing you want to do is start something else that's overwhelming. So
Yeah.
to go to a retreat, kickstart your success, and then come
Yeah.
back feeling refreshed, like you could take it on, that sounds like a great formula for long-term success to me.
100.
I'm curious, aside from the mental aspect, aside from the spiritual aspect, what do you see that women 40, 50, 60 and older need physically in terms of exercise or diet or recovery in order to be successful?
Well, we have to worry about our bone health first and
Mm.
foremost. Got to get that taken care of. And that involves lifting weights. So that is first and foremost. I'm sure a lot of women know that. But we also may have to change the way that we exercise. And so if you're doing high intensity interval training 5 days a week and you still are struggling with the weight that you want, that may not be the exercise for you, even though it served you in the past. You may need to shift to more yoga, Pilates, and weightlifting. Not to say you can't do some cardio, but you may
Mhm.
need to give yourself 2 or 3 days in between each HIIT session instead of just every day or every other day. You may need more recovery time because that's a lot of stress hormones pumping through your body. And I don't think it's a one size fits all approach. I think it's, again, being mindful of listening to your body and finding people that can work with you that know what they're doing. Having a trainer that knows what they're doing is really important. That can help guide you in figuring out an exercise plan that's right for you. But if you're not building muscle, you're definitely losing it. That happens once a woman hits 30. And so finding an exercise program that incorporates building strength rather than losing it is important. We always think of estrogen as the big hormone that we lose, but women first start losing progesterone, which doesn't have a ton to do with muscle. But the other sex hormone that we lose is testosterone, and we don't have a lot of it to begin with. So if we are losing our testosterone, and it has a pretty steady decline, unlike estrogen that kind of goes up and down for a while, if we've tanked in our testosterone levels, we're in trouble because then our muscle mass is like done. So if you're really seeing fat distribution in different areas and not able to gain any muscle, even though you're doing all the right things, we need to build up your testosterone. And that can be done with foods, that can be done with certain supplements. And then if you need to, it can be done with bioidentical hormone replacement therapy.
Yeah, that's a big one that we see is the weight gain in certain areas of the body due to low testosterone and also just due to high cortisol, because we understand that the adrenals for women are making both your testosterone and your cortisol. And if
Yep.
it's just constantly pumping out that cortisol, you don't really have time to make that testosterone. So managing stress is something that's massive too that we find.
Yeah. It's hard to make sex and stress hormones at the same time.
It is. It is
Yeah.
very hard. I love it. And so I agree. There's no one size fits all for anyone. But across the board, is there a general guess or range of how often somebody should be exercising?
Every day, it's just a different form of exercise every day.
So what would that look like? Like, give me a week, Monday through Sunday. How would you see that working?
Well, I can tell you my exercise program, which
That's
I've
perfect.
yeah, sure. So I do bar classes a couple times a week. I love it. I feel like bar classes change my body. I am very much an hourglass. I don't know if it's Marilyn Monroe shape. I mean, I hope, but I'm very much an hourglass figure. I'm never going to be like wafy thin, and I'm good with that. But bar really helps to change my body a little bit and helps with my hip mobility. So I do bar. I usually do 2 or 3 yoga classes a week as well. I lift heavy weights, and depending on what I'm doing each day, I will jump on the treadmill a little bit before those classes. So with the more restorative classes, with the more restorative yoga, because that's the yoga that I tend to do mostly, I will get on the treadmill for 20 minutes and do some walk run, do some hills. So I do like cardio, but for me, my body responds better to different types of movement now. So the
I love
cardio is
that.
more of an add-in. I would say probably 3 times a week.
Awesome. And when you say you lift heavy weights, what does that look like? Like, how much are you pushing yourself? Can you explain that?
Yeah, I usually try, and it really depends. Like right now, I'm getting over COVID. I don't know what I could lift at this point. But,
Yep.
if I'm feeling strong and I'm gaining muscle, which is important, I'll try and lift something. I'll try and lift a weight. Like, let's say for biceps, I'll try and lift, 15-pound weights. And if I can, for like 8 to 10 reps.
Perfect.
And
Yeah.
I do that 3 times. The goal for me, at least, and in my understanding of exercise, is to lift something really heavy to the point of fatigue. You cannot do it anymore. And you shouldn't be able to lift it like 25 times, because if you're lifting it 25 times, you're not lifting heavy enough weights. So you're really trying to fatigue the muscles. And so usually when I do lift heavier weights, like I'll only lift for 15 or 20 minutes because I'm already doing, a little bit of exercise, like a cardio beforehand. And then I'll lift for 20 minutes because I'm doing it 3 times a week, and I just pick a muscle group and I work with them.
That's great. I love that. Yeah. And what you said about you shouldn't be able to do it 25 times. That's more endurance based. You're really supposed to be pushing, right?
Yeah.
And it's funny, I just took a client to the gym. We train only online, but there's somebody that lives locally. And so we went to Planet Fitness together, and I wanted to show her. I was like, hey, this is what it looks like to push. And we found a weight that she could only do 10 reps of. And at the 10th rep, like that weight fell. It was so heavy. I was like, all right, I want you to do 8 or 9 of those and leave 1 rep left in the tank.
Yeah.
And at the end of that workout, she's like, number 1, I feel amazing.
Mhm.
Number 2, I actually feel like I did something, because most days when I leave the gym, I just don't feel like I worked. I was
Yeah.
like, great, that's what we want. And that was probably a month to 2 months ago at this point. The amount of changes she's seen from understanding that she actually needs to push her body has been massive.
Yeah, yeah. And again, I don't think it's all like, I really love bar. And with bar, there are exercises that we do with really, really light weights for 20 or 25 times. So I think there is value there, but it's not what we need to build muscle mass. It changes my shape, and I think that that's of value as well. But to build muscle mass, you really need those heavy weights.
Yeah, smart to define the goal that you're after. We're not saying that you shouldn't ever lift those 25 reps. Like, that's great for you. It's a whole lot better than sitting on the couch. But if your goal is to gain muscle, that's not what's going to create it. Really well said.
Yeah.
Sarah, thank you for the conversation today. Is there anything else that you'd like to add in before we kind of part ways?
Yeah, I just want to say that midlife is such a time that we've kind of done the work, and slowing down and really visualizing like what kind of life you want to manifest. This is our time to do it. So it's not a time to just be dealing with symptoms and dealing with stubborn body fat. I mean, we get to choose, like, what do we want, and ask ourselves, like, is there a different way that we can think about things? Because, this is the one shot. It's not a dress rehearsal. We have this one time. So to obsess over society's standards for us women, and to want to, I will not look like my 20-year-old daughter in a bathing suit ever again. And the sooner you come to that acceptance and then say, but what do I want that's realistic? And what team can I get in place to help me accomplish that? I think it's just such a beautiful time in life. And I hope everybody, enjoys it and embraces it.
I love that. I hope everybody enjoys it too. I also love that you said said, we only get one shot at this.
Mhm.
Like, I think people are so caught up thinking or worrying about what others think of them. And that is going to lead to massive regret later on in life. You didn't do what? Because you cared about what? Who thought of you? Like,
Yeah.
none of
Nobody
that
cares.
matters.
Everybody only cares
No.
about themselves in that respect. I have a group of girlfriends. I couldn't care less what they look like, what they're wearing. I mean, if they have a cute dress on, I'll say it's a cute dress, but it doesn't change how I feel about these people. People don't care about you, how you look. They care about how you make them feel. They care about the energy you bring to the room, and your energy is so much better served focusing on making yourself happy and joyful and energetic.
And let's say that those people do care. So what?
Yeah, no thanks.
Like, that has no impact on your life unless you let it. It is only impacting them. It is only putting them in a bad mood. Don't you let that put you in a bad mood. Like, just go about your day and do what you want. You're gonna be way happier.
Amen.
I love it. Sarah, thank you so much. Where can everybody find you if they want to spend some more time?
Sure. Well, I have clinics in Maryland. I have 2 wellness clinics. That is meadowhillwellness.com. And then I also have Rising Woman Project. RisingWomanProject.com is where I host my podcast, which is Midlife, Rise and Thrive. We talk about all things from fitness to emotional turmoil to how to live your best life. We cover a lot of topics pertaining to women in midlife. And that is also my platform where I host my retreats.
Awesome. Sarah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I just wanted to thank you for tuning into today's episode. I hope you really enjoyed the conversation and found it valuable. Now, please do not forget to subscribe to this show and leave me a review. It's going to help with 2 things. Number 1, reach more women so that we can change more lives, as well as help us to get amazing guests onto the show to help change your life in a bigger and better way. Be sure to check out the show notes for any special offers from myself and Hoye Fit. And until next time, stay healthy and keep thriving.